and we need to catch up with our next guest who he's here for Snooze, and he's about every Friday for Snooze as well, and Hayden King from the West, who joins us right now. G'day, Hayden.
Hey, Marty. Hey, Seb.
What's the latest news, H? We've got on Friday night the Taste of WA 4-year-old Championship, a Group 3 race and a heat of the WA Derby Preludes. What else has been happening around the place as far as harness racing is concerned away from the meeting?
Away from this meeting,
Yep.
I think the most important thing coming up this weekend is the Smokin' Up Sprint at Melton on Saturday night, because Leap to Fame's made a somewhat surprising appearance there. He headed down with a view to the Vic Cup, and Grant Dixon was 50-50 on whether he was going to stick him in and give him a chance in this Smokin' Up Sprint, but he's accepted and he's drawn out in gate number 6. For a horse of his calibre, I don't think it'll matter that much. He should go around and he should be able to dispose of those. But as harness fans, we've got to soak up every chance we can get of seeing this guy in action, and hopefully he stays around for a little while longer, even after this Vic Cup, New Zealand Cup raid, because he's everything that's good about harness racing, Leap to Fame.
Now looking to Friday at Gloucester Park, and I think you want to make mention of the railway handicappers, because we've got hot footer here at $251 on Tab Touch. What did you want to make mention of here?
Well, he should be $2,510. Like, he is seriously, there is more chance of Noah's Ark occurring over the next few days than him winning this race. And I don't want to put the heater on, but it should be some kind of streamlined process that is engaged for the system to prevent this kind of stuff from happening, because he's drawn out in gate number 9, so he's going to be inoffensive in the sense of the race. He's going to drop back to last and he'll stay there. He'll finish tailed off behind the rest because he's just lacking for class. But I just think, had he drawn in a random barrier draw race, had he drawn gates 1, 10, somewhere around the mark, he at least could have had a chance of hindering or hampering some of those fancies in the race, and it's probably just not a good look because he's going to be really uncompetitive. So I think we could put some measures in place that say, hey, you can't put a rating 50 horse in a 120 rated race because it's just not good for the spectacle of the contest.
Okay, well said. Right, let's kick it off with this WA Derby Prelude. Some good form, or horses in form in the race, but it looks a good draw to my eye for Lincoln Lou.
Yeah, it does. He has some speed. His speed's his best asset. I think in a big race he'd be better served try to snipe them, but now with Cyclone Geordie out, it has opened that WA Derby up a little bit. So I guess this Friday we can find out if he can be a playmaker in these ranks. He did do some work a couple of starts ago when he ran second at Bunbury, and he still stuck on pretty well behind Cyclone Geordie. He beat the rest pretty comfortably, and last start never got into it. So we'll learn a bit more about him this week and whether he really is up to this WA Derby to his ears. One horse that will be is Chase Me, who has had a couple of runs back from a break now. He was sneaking through late last time in a race where he was impossible to win the way it turned out. Boy Blue, he was so exciting at Pinjarra last start. He ran the arms off the clock through the late stages there. His last 600 was enormous. Rumble Strip, I reckon, he's a sneaky chance in this WA Derby. If he gets a draw, he can come into play. He probably hasn't got the high speed of some of the others, particularly a horse like Lincoln Lou, but he's a bit of a truck who can just keep pounding and grinding away from the front. So if he does draw to effect, he could come into play. And then the others, they're probably a rung below, but Elite Fleet's got some exciting speed, and if he was able to elevate his racing nous over the next few weeks, it wouldn't surprise me to see him competitive.
So Chase Me has had those 2 runs back, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is that pacer that come across from New Zealand and had a big rap on it, won all the races for Hall Junior and Senior. Have those 2 runs been up to that form that we anticipated he'd be running at?
I think he's still just learning. Like, he won those 4 races in a row on pure ability, and now his next couple, he was overshadowed by a Cyclone Geordie in the Battle of Bunbury. There was nothing wrong with the effort. He was sneaking through after a very circumspect drive, and then again dealt a circumspect drive when he was beaten last week in a walk and sprint. I don't think we've seen his best yet, but I think those couple of runs this time, although he's been beaten, he will have learnt a bit and he's been taught through those runs. So that could come to fruition on WA Derby night, because every time he goes out there, I think he's getting a little bit better between the years.
Retrovision text line 0427 789 571 if you've got a question for the King. The feature of the night is the Taste of WA 4-year-old Championship Group 3. I want to talk about this field. And I just see Sweet Pins, which is a horse we've been following a fair bit here on both Wednesday and Friday drive. Last start, finished 7th from 9 runners at a starting price of $1.38. $14 for Sweet Pins here on Friday night in the Group 3.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about that run. He looked like he was really knocking up late, and I wasn't convinced that he clearly underperformed, but I wasn't convinced that he was in his best health that night. But to see him back up a couple of weeks later, he's clearly come through the run okay. He's in the deep end now. He's been racing in restricted classes, although he's been against older horses in a sense. He's now got to come up against the best 4-year-olds. So he's one that I'd be willing to overlook here, particularly just from his tractability sense. If he has to come off the track or stay off the pegs in this class, I think he's going to get found out. But I'm potentially certainly up to them. The Halls, nonetheless, have a good grip on this race. They've got Alta Tribute, who was very good last week. I am surprised that he's been so strongly backed from $11 down to $5, considering he's drawn 5. But he showed a lot of endeavour and heart there to get home in 155.6 last week. Franco Motu, I'd probably have him above Alta Tribute in terms of my seeding from the camp, but Hall Junior's on Alta Tribute. Madison Brown picks up the Franco Motu drive, and that would be purely to do with the barrier draw, I'd expect, because I like Franco Motu as a horse. Just Call Me Mickey, too good there at Pinjarra last time out. He's one for the Bond camp that's going to take some beating in the Golden Nugget. And Copycat Queen, she's as fast as any of these horses, and she's now got gate number 1. So if she can show that she now can be a playmaker, because previously I don't think she could absorb too much heat and go on with the job. If she can, well, we get a chance to see that on Friday night. But we also know that she can be so devastatingly dangerous from a sit if that is the option that is forced upon her. So you can't rule her out of the game in any case.
That's a look at the main event. Back to race number 3, Sweet Coco. A week ago was pretty impressive. Do you give Sweet Coco a chance in the third?
Yeah, she's actually a really nice mare, Sweet Coco. I think she could go all the way to the top and be a contender for the Mares Classic later this year. Well, let's say she gets a draw in the Mares Classic, she'll be more than competitive. I was pretty impressed with that performance, and she pulled up really well in the few minutes after the race when I was conducting the interview. Tells me there's a bit more to come. Mm-hmm. And also, from her handful of runs in WA, she's looked a lot better gated. So that gives me some encouragement. There's been a big move on Stormy Skies. Her best asset's never been her gate speed, though. She's drawn gate number 1, so she will have to do her best to hold that initiative in the early stages. If she does, she comes right into play, being a last star winner. Pretty classy mare in her own right. She's been $12 down to $3.30, so an early hit there. And there's others in the race. Most of them are horses that require a lot of luck to go their way, but they have that sniping shot if it does.
One on the Retrovision text line 0427 789 571 from Rick. He's in South Perth. He says, boys, can you ask King about the Iron Duke in the 6th event? Good winner last start after crossing across from Melton.
Yeah, he was a good win, a workmanlike win, but I think there was probably more merit than it first seems, because in that prelim before that race, he was really fired up. He was fizzed up and pulling so hard. So that would have taken a bit out of him. And although he met some inferior horses there, and he'll come up against similar but probably slightly better company here, if he can be more amenable to Gary Hall Jr. through the pre-race period, then that can only enhance his performance. And given he was first up there, I'd say that he probably will be a little bit more persuaded. So, I think he'll go well, and he looks the likely winner there.
Well, we haven't spoken about race number 4, but the book into Beau Rivage for Fireworks Night is a ripper with Minstrel, I'd imagine, holding the call, although, he's a sports drawn inside of it. Never Ending's drawn out wide, and Mr. Smarty is 2 off the back. This is a great race.
Yeah, I think he's a sport's probably the leader of the race, and Minstrel can park outside him. Mr. Smarty is drawn immediately behind he's a sport, so Minstrel has to make sure he gets that head in front of he's a sport, so Mr. Smarty can't squirm through and follow them. I think he's a sport's a big chance of overturning Minstrel. Minstrel's second up. He'll take benefit from that run, but that was still a month ago leading into this week. Mr. Smarty was pretty courageous last week when gaining second on protest. Never Ending, a very good first up run. Bricky's Dreams flying, but looks pretty hard for Never Ending. Bricky's Dreams probably a top 4 chance. Hotly Pursued's going to struggle from that draw, but I actually think he was probably a little bit below last week, Hotly Pursued. But considering he'd had 3-4 weeks between runs, I think he'll take a lot of benefit from that. So I wouldn't be reading too much into that, and the rest are fringe players.
Okay, so the Bond stable look to dominate that race. Always good to catch up with you, Hayden, for the West Australian, also for Snooze. We'll do it again on Friday.
Thanks, guys.